G'day viewers, Retro Man here. Today I will be doing a walkthrough of the 80s and 90s titles in my Imprint Blu-ray collection. Stay tuned for more.
Coming to you from a basement studio somewhere down under, it's the 80s Show with Australia's Retro Man. On tonight's show, Retro Man walks you through his 1980s and 90s Imprint Blu-ray collection. Well, what are we waiting for? Lights, camera, Retro Man.
G'day viewers, Retro Man here and welcome to the 80s Show. Now today I will be walking you through more of my Imprint Blu-ray titles. Now think of this episode as the 80s and 90s collection. I have a few here guys, and I haven't quite got as many 80s and 90s titles as I had in the previous 50s and 60s collection, but I certainly have some very eclectic titles to take a look at. Now first, let's get into it with, ladies and gentlemen, The Fabulous Stains. Now this is a punk film from 1982 starring Diane Lane and Laura Dern. And look at the artwork here guys. You've got that shot of Diane on the front, black and white, and we've got this very punkish artwork here, and that really is the essence of the film, that one. And we've got a shot inside of the band and some neat artwork on the disc. Now this came out in 1982. This is 189. Imprint put the number on the side there to show you where it appears in their catalogue. And I must say, this is a bit of a lost film. I've seen it, but many of you out there, had to probably over the years get a bootleg or something to catch up with this one if you're a Diane Lane fan, or you could have been a punk fan. And this is definitely for a two-tier fan base, this one. If you like Diane Lane, it's a must-see. If you're into punk films, which is a fascinating subculture, this is a great movie for punk fans. And the audio commentaries on here, we get an audio commentary with director Lou Adler, and there's an audio commentary with Diane Lane and her co-star Laura Dern, who of course is from those Jurassic Park films. A young Laura Dern appears in this as well. And this is a really neat disc. So if you're into your 80s punk, check this one out. Anyway guys, here's another one. We've got Harem, or Harem, however you want to pronounce this one, with Nastassja Kinski and Ben Kingsley. Now Nastassja Kinski was trying to make a bit of a name for herself in Hollywood films in the 80s, and this is the one that came out right in the middle of the decade. This is a 1985 film. It's number 123 on the Imprint label. We've got some great artwork of Nastassja there, and on the back here we've got Ben Kingsley and her, and this is a bit of a forbidden love story. This is an odd film. Ben Kingsley did this film just after he won his Oscar for Gandhi, and man, if you're looking for something a little different, this is the way to go. This is a romantic movie. It's unusual, it's exotic, and it's intense. And what can I say? Nastassja Kinski is just a fascinating actress. And this also has a great documentary on here which takes a look at the 70s and 80s cinema of Nastassja Kinski. So I think that's a neat bonus on this Blu-ray release. So moving right along now to a great Mickey Rourke film from 1985. Mickey was certainly the actor in the 80s. He really made a splash on the scene. And this here is a Michael Cimino film, the director of The Deer Hunter, and it's called Year of the Dragon. This is a fascinating gangster film. It's basically cops versus the Chinese mafia, essentially. And it's bloody, it's violent, it's gritty, it's dramatic, and Rourke is great in this. In fact, they've even aged him. And this is number 24 on the Imprint label. and it came out in 1985, this film. I've always been a fan. I think there's some great acting in this, and it's got a lot of atmosphere. And we've got a great shot of Mickey in there with a pistol. He's certainly a different style of cop. He's not exactly Dirty Harry-ish, but he definitely really is a rough and tumble cop, and he doesn't take any crap from nobody. So that's Mickey Rourke in Year of the Dragon, and there's some great extras on here. I mean, we get 2 audio commentaries, and there's also a doco or 2, or video essay, if you will, they call them sometimes on here, plus a theatrical trailer and a photo gallery. So if you're a Mickey Rourke fan, Year of the Dragon on Imprint is the way to go. Now let's have a look at this one here. It's a Richard Dreyfuss film. This is a gambling comedy called Let It Ride. In fact, I still have this one in the wrapper. I'm yet to check it out yet. But I remember renting this film in the late 80s, and this was a film that sort of was made in the wake of Richard Dreyfuss's comeback. I mean, he had a bit of a comeback there in the 80s with movies like Stakeout and Tin Men and Moon Over Parador, and Let It Ride was in those slew of comeback films, and he's a bit of a racetrack fanatic in this, and he's gambling on horses all the time, and it's an unusual comedy, but it has Richard Dreyfuss in it, and it's the late 80s, and definitely if you like Richard Dreyfuss, check it out. I mean, this is a hard to find movie. I remember it from the video store days, and it's great to have it in high definition. It comes with an audio commentary, and there's an interview on here, deleted scenes, and a theatrical trailer. So that's Let It Ride from 1989, and this is number 35 on the Imprint label. So let's have a look now at another Mickey Rourke movie. This is the deluxe Barfly box, and Barfly is a fascinating film from 1987. It stars Mickey Rourke and Faye Dunaway, and look at the packaging, guys. It's just simply great. And we get a neat little bonus in here. We get the Charles Bukowski tapes as the bonus Blu-ray in this pack. And he's the guy that Barfly is based on. He's essentially the Mickey Rourke character in this film. And this real-life guy is very fascinating. He's an alcoholic, he's a poet, he's a writer, and he's really cool to listen to. And this came out in 1985, the Charles Bukowski tapes. This was kind of like a bizarre interview collection. So if you want to find out more about the man behind Barfly, this is the way to go. And of course, this is the movie Barfly here. I mean, I love that artwork with the broken glass, and this artwork is certainly great on the box. But, I mean, this is a tour de force for Mickey Rourke. I mean, the critics loved his performance in this. I also think he did a great job. This is number 159 on the Imprint label, and there's some great extras on here. There's even an interview with actress Alice Krieg, who was also in this film, and we get an interview with Frank Stallone, who plays a superb role in this. I think Frank Stallone, Sylvester's brother, is really an underrated actor, and he has a great little role in Barfly, and there's an interview on this disc. So guys, that's a neat little extra. So that's Barfly from 1987, and what a box. I mean, this is just really good. This hard packaging is great. So moving right along now, guys, to 2 titles from the 90s. We've got Breakdown with Kurt Russell. This is a great thriller. I saw this in the cinemas back in the day. In fact, that was 1997 when I saw it. So, yeah, it's been a few years. And I watched this on Blu-ray a while back. And I tell you what, it looks great. It sounds great. And Kurt Russell is as good as ever. And this is a really tense thriller. And I think it's great, these cross-country road trips that are just filled with atmosphere. And this is a very atmospheric film. There's a great shot of Kurt there in the inner packaging. And yeah, if you like Kurt Russell, this is the way to go. I mean, if you haven't seen Breakdown, please check it out. And there's some great extras on here as well. There's some documentaries, and there is also an audio commentary. And that's the original artwork for the film. I remember seeing that poster at the cinema, and it's great to see the two different types of artwork. I kind of love that idea. And there's a great shot of Kurt Russell on the back as well. So that's Breakdown. And guys, last but not least, I've brought the Odd Couple box back. And in here we have, of course, the Odd Couple sequel. Now, the Odd Couple, the original film, came out in '68, and the amazing thing is that 30 years later they did a sequel called The Odd Couple 2, and Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau were back, and the two actors still share that same chemistry. This Blu-ray is great. It comes with an audio commentary. There's a nice little interview here with the director, and there's some promotional interviews with the cast, and also there's two fantastic documentaries on here. There's a documentary from 1996 called Jack Lemmon, America's Everyman, and a documentary from 1997 on Walter Matthau called Diamond in the Rough. So, I mean, the supplementary material on these discs is simply amazing, and that's a fantastic one to have. So, guys, that basically does it. That completes my look at 80s and 90s imprint releases. I have quite a few of these in my collection. I'm hoping to add more, and man, there's some very interesting titles here. So tell me, guys, what you have in your collection. Are you collecting the Imprint Blu-ray label? Especially, guys, tell me what you have in your 80s and 90s collection, because I love my 80s. So pop a comment in the box below and share your thoughts on the Imprint brand. So there we have it, guys. That's a neat little look at my 80s and 90s imprint collection, and I'm looking forward to adding more titles to this. But man, I mean, what an eclectic array of titles. We've got some Mickey Rourke, we've got Kurt Russell, we've got Nastassja Kinski, we've got Diane Lane, Richard Dreyfuss. It really is a cool selection of actors in some very interesting films. So if you're a fan of 80s and 90s cinema, I would highly recommend checking out these films on the Imprint label. So it's been an absolute pleasure, guys, talking about them, and I will see you again very soon. But until then, please like, comment, and subscribe, and keep watching the 80s show, because you will never know what is going to pop up next. This is Retro Man, living the dream, 80s style. Stay gold.
Thanks for watching. Retro Man will return faster than a boomerang, and with more episodes featuring Imprint Blu-rays. Please subscribe, and good night, viewers.